Hey, what's up everybody? Morph here for your daily dose of Duet Night Abyss content. If you like Duet Night, hit that like and sub now! Today, we're gonna get into everything you need to know about Fushu. This is gonna cover her skills, her build, her stats, her scaling, my future build plan, all that good stuff in this one video. Let's get into it. So Fushu is of course part of Huaxu. She's the one that's coming on 1.1. Everybody will be playing this character because she just looks that damn amazing. She is a Hydro character, 289 base Hydro attack, not the highest, but that's okay. HP is at 1300, same with the shields. Pretty decent if you ask me. The surprising thing is she is a healer and a sanity recovery unit, so she is support, but she only has about 150 maximum sanity. This might not be a problem because Hydro has a lot of access to max sanity wedges like Wing Inspo and I think it's Blaze Inspo that they have. My bad, I don't think it's Blaze Inspo, it's Blaze Wings. So not a huge problem having a low base, but a higher base would have been a little bit better. Weapon proficiency is Whip Sword, not the best, but who knows, we might be getting some new demon wedges, and the bow. Next, let's talk about her skills. Sub-Celestial Solace, she basically summons a Yanchi. Yanchi. A maximum of 2 Yanchis can exist at the same time. Now this is further increased with her Introns, so it's actually 3 Yanchis. So the Yanchis inherit 100% of Fushu stats and deals Hydro damage to the nearest 5 enemies once every second. That is okay. The limitation of 5 is kind of rough, but that's okay if you're like bursting them down anyway. Since you have 3 of them, so it's about 15 total enemies. Plus it deals damage every second. One of the fastest skill of this kind the game has. So this is pretty good, once every second. Yanchis also restores HP and sanity for nearby teammates once every 3 seconds. So the heal is different from the damage. So you damage every 1 second, you heal sanity and HP every 3 seconds, and the summon duration lasts about 10 seconds. So I'm assuming you kinda might want to run a little bit of skill duration, especially if you want to increase it to around 12 seconds. That way you get more out of the skill. But I might not need skill duration because of her passive. We'll get to that in a little bit. So her summon at base cost 35. That's not bad to summon a Yanchi. So you have to summon 3, so it's going to be 105. And her base is pretty low, right? At 150. So that kind of makes it necessary to run something like Wing Inspo or something that's Wing Volition, I think. So that might need to be done. Alright, so the base summon damage though is fairly good at 273%. That's not bad. That's at level 1 with a 10-meter radius. This 10-meter radius is a little rough, but we can increase that with a little bit of skill range. And Hydros have access to skill range. Summon duration is 10 seconds. We already talked about this. And healing is about 0.48% of her attack plus 5, and then it scales with skill damage most likely. The sanity recovery is 12 sanity at level 1. That's pretty good. That's a lot of sanity recovered. If you couple it with Serenity, you're gonna have a lot of sanity regen. Next up is her ultimate, which is a buff, Holistic Harmony. This deals Hydro damage to nearby enemies, granting Fushu an Ultra Shield, which isn't too important if you ask me, and increases her attack speed. Now this part's important. In addition, Fushu nearby teammates also receive an Ultra Shield and gain 9 needle therapy. So if you combine this character with Randy, it could be a pretty damn good combo for Ultra Shield gain. Alright, so you also gain 9 Needle Therapy along with the Ultra Shield. 9 Needle Therapy increases your skill damage by a percentage of Fushu's skill damage. So let's just say she has about 100% skill damage. You give others, if you follow this stat bonus here, 12.8% skill damage if you have 100% skill damage. Of course, your skill damage is most likely going to be way higher than that because of all her buffs, plus all the wedges and weapons that you can increase your skill damage with. Buffing up all your teammates that deal damage with skill damage. So she is a very, very good support character. Probably one of the best in terms of skill damage boosting. There is, however, a skill damage boost cap of 120% skill damage. That would mean that you would have to have 1,200 skill damage at level 1. So this is most likely gonna change. The cap of this is gonna be, you probably level this and the skill damage boost will increase from 12.8 to whatever number so that it's easier to get this 120% skill damage boost cap. The duration of the 9 Needle Therapy is 12 seconds. That's already pretty good, pretty damn long. And I would think that's all you're gonna need. It's a W buff. Probably some of the strongest buff in the game in terms of skill damage. Now, what really sets this character apart, besides the ultimate and the skill, is actually the passive. The passive, Arceus Revival. Using a combat skill or ultimate skill, either if it's Fushu or her nearby teammates, you gain 1 stack that increases skill speed. Skill speed is basically how quickly you're able to do your skills. It's not the casting speed, it's more along the lines of the values of this 1 second. You know, like it deals damage every second and then it heals every 3 seconds. It's gonna decrease the time it takes for your skills to work again. So 3 seconds is gonna be reduced to 2 point something seconds. And the 1 second is gonna be reduced to 0 point whatever something second, right? So it's a faster time of which you can use the skill. So characters like Randy, Hellfire, Sybil, any character that uses that kind of skill that takes time for it to work again will highly benefit from Fushu. You can gain up to 10 stacks of this at a baseline of 0.65 per stack. That doesn't seem like much, but I'm pretty sure this is a level 1, so when you upgrade this, it's gonna be a lot better. And of course, there is a 6-second skill boost, but every time somebody uses a skill on your team, this timer is refreshed, so it will most likely just be up all the time, and you'll constantly have the stacks at 10. It's not like it's gonna disappear. It's a refreshing stack, which is great. Now when it comes to her passive upgrades, we have skill duration, which is good for all her buffs. Skill damage, 12% skill damage, that's pretty good at 24%. And skill duration at 6%. Brimful of Vitality increases skill damage for her plus 33 per Yunchi based on the number of Yunchis on the field. So it can go up to 99 because when you have Intron level 2, you gain another Yunchi, right? So that's a massive buff on its own. You can probably scale her skill damage pretty damn high. And this is just a regular passive upgrade. It's not even an Intron. It's a powerful passive. Next, her Meridian Synergy. Only when deployed as a combat partner, you increase skill damage by 10% for the character and nearby teammates when 2 or more characters in the same team share the same element. So basically, you can use Fushu in any elemental team as long as both of them are, you either have two Hydro and then that random element, or two of the other elements and then Fushu. You will gain this 10% buff. It's not the best, but it's not the worst either, because at least it's a universal buff that works with a 2-element plus 1 random element team. Now, this is where things get really interesting with this character, and that's the Introns. Much like any character, Introns really changes the way your character plays and behaves. At I1, when Fushu or nearby teammates are applied with 9 needle therapy, you get this when you ult. They ignore the target's defense by 25% when dealing skill damage. That is almost a 25% damage bonus. Give or take, most likely less, but argumentatively, it is 25% more damage immediately for free. You just have to get an I1. Next up is the I2. You increase the number of Yanchis. We already talked about this. This is a free 33% skill damage buff for Fushu herself, which in turn increases the value that you can get out of your holistic harmony. This is why her introns and skills really work well together for the character. Of course, level 3, you gain levels for your passive and your skill. At intron number 4, increases the stack cap of Arceus Revival to 15. This one will make her an even better support and maybe even a better DPS for herself and for the team. Faster skill speeds equals better. Really awesome to have that. It's not an understatement. Skill speed is gonna change and make a lot of weaker characters shine better, and they'll become more playable. This is why Fushu is actually one of my favorites that are coming out in 1.1. I'm not heavily devastated anymore that Zilu is delayed, because I now figured out that Fushu is pretty damn good. Next up, of course, her I5 is just more skills, and I6 changes the character completely. There are 3 builds that you can make with Fushu. You can make her the ultimate support buffer that gives your team a lot of skill damage and a lot of skill speed. That's already good on its own. Then there's the DPS skill caster Fushu build when you have I4. When you have I2, it can work as an I2 already. Even at I1, it could actually work, but I2 would be the ideal for her to be an on-the-field DPSer. That's when she becomes like effective as DPS. I4 is when she becomes really good as a skill caster DPSer, because you gain a lot of skill speed plus more Yanchis, and then you ignore 25% of the defense of whatever you're fighting. So that's the second build. I6 opens the door to having a completely different Fushu. This character has so much versatility going for it that it's absolutely amazing that this is actually in the game. If you read Intron 6, I6, during the attack boost, this is a 12-second buff. Effect granted by Holistic Harmony, Fushu deals 240% additional damage. That is just insane. If you don't know what additional damage is and how it works, look at Daphne's ultimate. That gives you around 28 at level 8. It's about 18.3% additional anemo damage. 18.3. Fushu on her I6 buff, she gets 240. Now you're probably thinking, yeah, but that only works with weapons. Yeah, it works with weapons. This character gets 240% additional damage with weapons. Oh my god, you guys don't know how crazy this buff is. Imagine your katana. You have the katana build that deals I don't know, like a million. Let's just say a million damage when you do the charge attack. That million damage automatically becomes 3,400,000 damage because of that one 240% hydro damage. And that's not it's crazy. It's gonna work so good. You're gonna become a weapon bossing character. You're dealing weapon damage with Fushu. That is where she absolutely goes nuclear when she gets I6. And that's why I'm very excited to play this character. Alright, so that's it for the skill overview and a preview of the builds that are possible with her. Remember, you can make a support build, a caster DPS build, and a weapon master DPS build. Let's go over to the other guy, the little guy, our little friend. See ya. Alright, so to showcase the possible builds for Fushu, there's gonna be a lot of this, guys, so there's gonna be a little bit of a long video. We're gonna section it into 3 different builds, so we're gonna do this 3 times. All right, here we go. First up is the support build. You're gonna want wing inspo for the added max sanity and more skill efficiency. For, of course, you're gonna run serenity plus try to get this as high as possible. And then after you get serenity, we will maybe have to run one of 2 of maybe this one. Maybe skill duration might be really good for her because she does have a lot of durational buffs. So it depends. It still depends though, because you could either want more skill range so that your skills deal more damage to a lot more units, but for support, most likely Midnight Sun is the way to go because you want to be very supportive. Next up, as a support, you will most likely want to be running Frosty Torrent. This will give your team additional attack percentage, up to 275% attack. When this is a gold plus 10, it's a lot easier to get that cap. And as you can see, I already have 50 pieces of this. I'm ready to make that gold plus 10. Next up, here is where things get a little bit tricky for support Fushu. I'm saying it's tricky because you could either go with something that gives you more duration and lessens the skill range because you don't really need that much skill range if you're the support. Yeah, maybe because the heal is just gonna reach you anyway. So it's more about the damage to the enemies that's the problem. But for now, don't mess with the loss of skill range. I think we can just stick to either more max sanity so that we're like topped up all the time. But at the same time, it's a little tricky because you want to get as much skill damage as possible, but also want to be able to contribute to the team with the range. I think it's either gonna be, it's most likely gonna be Wings Volition for even more sanity. So we could just put this here for now. I don't have too many of those, so we're just gonna put in like fillers for now because I don't really use hydro characters as much. So just for now, we're just gonna put these things. Oh no, I have to plus 10 it to like showcase it. Alright, but just imagine, guys. So Wings Volition is gonna be there. Then we have probably one more free slot that we can put. Most likely, it depends on who your other character is. You might want to give Fushu the Surge. I'm thinking of giving Fushu the Surge because, well, you don't really need too much for her as to support, right? You already have the max sanity, you're getting the maximum skill efficiency already. So, really, this is just basically a support unit, so giving her the Surge might not be the worst idea. One more thing that you could slot in instead of putting in another Wings Volition or something like this, you can consider putting let's see, it's Onslaught. Onslaught could be a pretty good piece that you put on Fushu. Let's see, let me go grab this thing just so that I can put in more wedges. Alright, where is it? Where's Onslaught? Right here. Onslaught. Onslaught decreases the damage taken, so that way Fushu isn't as squishy. Defeating an enemy grants one stack that increases attack by 1% for up to 30 seconds, up to 15 stacks. It's not bad because it gives you more like skill damage for herself, plus she's a little bit more tanky. A really good option for a good support build. Now, let's get into the more DPS centric build for her, and a lot of these things might change depending on how you want to play her. For Skillcaster, you're not going to be using this anymore. Frosty Torrent is immediately out. You're going to swap that with the Veil. I have to look for it. It's here, Misty Veil. This one gives your summons attack speed based on your melee weapon's attack speed. So if you build it with Celerity, the base attack speed of the weapon would be really good. So Misty Veil is what you're going to use if you're making her the on-field DPSer. Now we talked about skill range being the issue, and when you're on the field you have better control of when to use her skills. So I feel like Griffins would be out. Griffins would be replaced with, if I can find it, with the Wildfire version. Midnight Sun is going to be out, and you're going to put Wildfire. It's right here. Wildfire is going to be your substitute to Midnight Sun because you want more skill range. It still gives you a lot of skill damage and hydro attack. Next, you're going to change Serenity, and because you're healing constantly, you will most likely be topped up on HP, and you're also gaining Ultra Shields, so morale is most likely the best prime wedge that you can put for Fushu as the DPS caster. Okay, here's the thing. I would not run Wing Inspo. I might be crazy to say this, but because we're gaining a lot from maximum sanity and skill damage on the Wings Volition, I would remove Wing Inspo and I would actually change it to duels so that you deal more damage. You're gonna remove Surge, so you put that there, and you're gonna replace Wing Inspo with Blaze Inspo. Blaze Inspo, I think, is the way to go with this character, because if you have 2 Blaze Inspos and 2 Wings Volition, it equals to a much better Wing Inspo, because you're gaining more DPS, you're gaining skill damage already, and you're also gaining skill efficiency at a higher number when you have 2 of these versus just having 1 of them in Wings with Wing Inspo. So Blaze Inspo, 2 Blaze Inspo, and 2 Wings Volition. And then the duel, depending on how much you can scale your skill range, might be the way to go. Because if you can scale your skill range to such a big number, then you won't have a range issue anymore. You might be thinking of going with Blaze Spectrum, which I think is also possible. It's not Blaze, this one, Blaze Spectrum. More skill range and attack, but you're gonna kind of want to have that skill efficiency in there, and you're gonna want to have that maximum sanity and skill damage as well. So what weapons are you gonna run to compensate for this? That's where we go into the weapons later. These are just the wedges for the builds for now. Whew, this character is gonna be very, very tricky. So I will probably make a independent 3 different videos just for Fushu alone, but this is the everything you need to know video for her. So this is the wedge set number 2 for skill damage. Now let's get into the weapons, because I feel like the weapons for the support and the caster build is gonna be the same. So let's go to that right now. At the moment, probably the best in slot weapon for Fushu that's tricky is going to be either Siren's Kiss, because you gain 60% skill range, which is really, really good for these AoE builds, and you gain attack speed whenever you deal damage to stuff, right? So whenever you deal damage to enemies or targets, you can gain this attack speed buff on your weapon, and then you're gonna build it with celerity. Let's just say this one. There we go. What? Okay. Celerity. You're gonna have a lot of attack speed, and all your summons will be dealing a lot of damage. Now you might be wondering why would you ever put this this weapon? Because you're not gonna be close to the enemies, right? Well, just imagine this situation wherein you have a Cibi teammate that has an orb. All you have to do is hit the orb as Fushu, and you're gonna gain the stacks of your normal attack on it, and they're gonna be far away enough for you to be able to deal damage with your summons from far away and gain this buff. You know what I mean? You can max out the buff of this thing, plus you gain the skill range, which is probably the most unique way to play her as a skill caster and DP and support character as well. So this is an option, especially if you're gonna put her as a support to Sybil. She is most likely just gonna attack the orb non-stop, and this is the weapon that you're gonna use for her. So that way her skills deal damage from further away, plus you're gaining more, it's hitting faster. Really, really cool, really interesting. It affects the way the build works. It's just really interesting to play it this way. Now, there is a more easier weapon, but the thing is, you have to wait a little bit because it's gonna go to the secret letter shop later, and that's to max out your Vernal Jail Halberg, because you gain a flat 50% attack speed while also dealing 90% additional damage to targets afflicted with bonus effects. Now, I have tested this. You do not deal bonus damage to enemies using your skills. It's only using the weapon. So this weapon is good because it's a flat 50. And yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I just think that this is a little bit easier. It depends. It really depends on how you play, but this one's more for like farming, just just easy to get the buff, but then you have to spend on the weekly. There's too many. There's a lot of things involved into picking what might be the best weapon for Fushu. So at the moment, I'm torn between Siren's Kiss and Vernal Jade Halberd, because these are actually the good ones for Rebecca as well. Next, there is one more weapon in contention for the best in slot for Fushu besides her own weapon, because she does have her own weapon. That might be the best one, but for now, it can also be Wainwraith for more skill damage. This is also decent, but I'm thinking Viridis Reefs. Now, you might be thinking, what the hell? This weapon? Why? Well, at maximum smelt of this weapon, you gain 88% attack speed. That is the fastest attack speed in all of the weapons. And all you have to do is do a charge attack. You don't even need to do anything else. Just charge attack and you already gain this buff instantly. You couple that with putting celerity on this weapon and you have yourselves summons that deal a lot of damage really fast. So yeah, this is a good slot for her, and it's also a whip sword which she is good with, right? It's her main weapon. She's proficient with whip swords. So I think this might be the best in slot for her for now. It's either this one or Siren's Kiss. Vernal is a good one just in general, and it's just the only thing is you gotta max it out to really get that additional 25% attack speed. But if you're a smart man, it's Siren's Kiss or Viridis Reefs. For the range weapon, here are where the stat sticks come in. The possible good ones is of course more skill range, which Destructo Smelt 5 does massive for skill range. I think it's going to be this one if you want more range, depending on the activity that you're doing. If you're farming, it's most likely going to be skill range. If you're bossing, of course, it's going to be this one, X-Cruise Duo, for more skill damage, which is really good. You have other options too. This one's not great. I mean, you could just buff the team. This is a good one if you're like the buffer for the team. So if you're doing the buff build, use the bow. This buff bow is really good for her. But if you're the DPSer, it's either going to be this one for farming, this one for bossing. I'm pretty sure those are the two best possible weapons that you give for Fushu. And the third being the support weapon, the bow. Alright? So those are the weapons that you're going to want to be using for the support build and for the DPS caster build. Now, we're not done. Whew, this character is going to take a while. Let's do the weapon damage base build for Fushu. This is where it will get interesting. You're going to swap out Misty Veil because you're not going to be dealing damage with your skills. You're going to be dealing damage with your attack. So you want to run Frosty Torrent. You will self-buff yourself additional 273% attack, which is really good. Then you change this one again because you don't want to be casting skills as much. You will change this one to Midnight Sun, if we can find it. Where are you, Midnight Sun? Why you hiding? Come out. There it is. Midnight Sun. You can run Prime Morale. Prime Morale, I think, might be better than Hunt Down for Fushu, specifically for weapon damage. I know I'm a big advocate for Hunt Down, but I really think that this one is the way to go. You go with Morale because it's going to influence the additional damage that you deal. at the end, right? The 240% additional damage is going to be crazy. So here are the big three that you're going to want to run. Frosty Torrent, Midnight Sun, Prime Morale. Especially when you're bossing, Duel is always going to be a must-have. Now, this is where things get a little bit different. Max Sanity and skill damage. You will be removing these ones. I know it sounds crazy. Why would you do that? Well, because you're not running or dealing damage with your skills. But you're gonna need to be able to run the buff consistently, the attack speed buff. So having Blaze Inspo and Blaze Inspo again is gonna be very good for you because the lack of the lower skill cost, because her skills are so expensive and you're not gonna have the same sanity because you removed two of them. I think the way to go with this character, you can maybe even run Blaze, but I think there's a better alternative to Blaze. That's not the one you go with. We can either go with even more Blaze Inspos so that the cost is cheaper and you're gaining more attack, or I think that's the way to go. You can go with if you're running a weapon build though, depending on the weapon, you might have to go with Gleaming. You might have to go with Gleaming Katana for one. And if it's too difficult to maintain your buffs because the cost of the buff is too high and your maximum sanity is too low, you might have to run Wing Inspo. You might have to run Wing Inspo. Maybe. But I don't think you run Wing Inspo. I think you just run another Blaze Inspo so that you gain even more attack and then you gain more skill efficiency that way. Even though this one will solve your sanity problems, at least if you're running another Blaze Inspo, you're gaining more attack, which is important for a weapon-based build. So unfortunately, Hydro does not have attack morale, attack resolve. It doesn't have wedges like that. You're not gonna need skill range. You're not gonna need maximum sanity and skill damage. But what you are gonna need is attack and a way to lower the cost of your skills while getting more damage out of it. So you're looking at three Blaze Inspos in one build with the Duel, with Midnight Sun, with Frosty Torrent. I know it's good. 275% attack bonus is big. Hydro attack is good. Skill duration is good for the buff. Skill damage is still good because the buff is stronger for your teammates. And then Prime Morale for the multiplicative damage from morale stat itself. And Gleaming Katana is pretty good for characters that don't have access to morale and resolve wedges. So some people will say, oh my god, this is so bad. But yeah, we are in that sort of situation. You could maybe, just maybe, you could change Gleaming Katana into, I don't have it though, Gleaming Assault Rifle. I think maybe Gleaming Assault Rifle might be the way to go. It depends on what available assault rifles we have that buffs the character for us. So let's take a look at what we have. I think Assault Rifle might be the way to go. Honestly, Assault Rifle is the way to go because Fina's Assault Rifle gives us a massive buff for our attack. So I think Gleaming Assault Rifle is the way to go when you're building a weapon damage based build for Fushu. Now, for the weapon of choice, of course, it's hands down the Momoji Itataki. Whatever. This weapon is just too powerful. It's too strong. It's a very strong weapon for weapon damage. There's no other weapon that can even rival it. The only one that comes close is this one. But yeah, no. Some people will say it's as good as this. It's not. This is just absolutely the best one. Yeah. Just get good, hit the skill, hit the thrust, and deal that massive amount of damage. This is the best weapon in the game right now. You gain critical damage and so much final damage that it is just absolutely insane. You want to take a look at the wedges, it's celerity, impetus focus, impetus plus 10, edge plus 10, rage tremble for crit damage, focus for more crit chance, crescent flurry for the double damage when you deal a charge attack, and fortune. Hopefully this gets a gold wedge on the patch. If it gets gold, this is going to be amazing. It's probably going to be game 3 combo points, and it's just going to be stab city with this weapon. And yeah, that's the build for the weapon. This is the one to go with. Next up is the range weapon. Because we are running Gleaming Assault Rifle, and I'm telling you guys now, Gleaming Assault Rifle is gonna be worth it, especially for characters that don't have that morale Demon Wedge. If you want to go weapon damage, you have quite a few options for the AR, but if you look at what you really have, this one isn't that great. It doesn't do anything for you. Its trigger probability, not really that important. This one doesn't do anything for you because it's a pistol. I think we're just left with what we got. Like, even these ones don't do anything. That's critical damage. And this doesn't affect the damage of your weapon. It's only for this one, the melee. It doesn't combine with the whole stat. So having buffs for this is not the way to go. Multi-shot, no. I think the weapon of choice for Fushu is gonna be Osteo Breaker. And the reason why is because of the skill duration. Her buffs are so good that you want to have it up longer so that you don't have to keep casting your skills. Think about it really well. This is the way to go if you're going with a weapon damage based Fushu build. I know it's not the best weapon, but skill duration is going to be decent for her. It is an assault rifle, and you're going to give your companions the other rifle of Fina, because this one just gives you so much damage that you just got to run this weapon. You got to run this weapon on Fina. It's the best support weapon for weapon damage. Next up, you're gonna give your other support a whatever weapon because you don't need the buffs from that weapon anymore. You mostly just want this buff anyway. Right, so there you have it. I think you go with Osteo Breaker for the range weapon on Fushu if you're doing the weapon damage I6 build. Whew, that was a lot to go through. Now let's talk about possible companions for Fushu depending on what build you're gonna do, right? If you're playing her as a support, it doesn't matter. Like I said, it's gonna be very beneficial for Randy. It's gonna be very beneficial for even Psyche. I think faster skilling is good. Good for Berenica for better sanity sustain. Good for same thing with Fantasio, better sanity sustain. Even Lynn for better sanity sustain. But the ones that are highly affected by her skill speed buffs are gonna be Sybil, Randy, and Hellfire. Maybe even Fina herself, because the ult. But these are the ones that benefit from her the most as a support character for the skill speed buff. What characters will you use with her as the on-field DPS caster is a whole nother story. As the on-field DPS caster, I feel like the way to go with this character, at least, you will most likely want to run Fina. Not because of the weapon base part, but because of the penetration that Fina does for the party, for the damage. She just amplifies the damage so much, and she'll also give you the buff from her rifle, which is also a welcome buff for Fushu that scales with attack. So you would most likely want Fina. She'll work with any team. Next up, another good party member for this character might be Truffle. Truffle is gonna be a little bit tricky to run because you know that she has like a really bad AI that stops buffing. But if you can live with it and just gain that sudden burst of damage, then Truffle is a good option. But if you want a little bit more consistency and would actually synergize really well and give you a little bit more damage bonus, the Beth. The Beth is not going to be terrible for Fushu. You're going to gain a skill damage buff, which is good for her casting, more damage, more skill damage on top of everything. Plus, you're also going to gain, again, more skill damage. And yeah, they just synergize really well off each other. You can't really go wrong with Tebeth. And Tebeth has her time in the sun now. You can I6 Tebeth. It's not they say it's not the best, but we'll see. I'm actually planning something for Tebeth. It's gonna be good. But Tebeth is a pretty decent support for Fushu as well. There is a sleeper pick that is going to be very good for farming. Sybil. Sybil, like I said, if she drops the orb, you can then hit it with your Siren's Kiss and make an AoE farmer Fushu. If you want to play as Fushu, an AoE farm. Because there's a lot of things you can play with Fushu. She is so versatile that it's awesome. And you having a close target all the time that you can just whack with your weapon will maintain your stacks of attack for your summons to deal faster damage quicker. So yeah, that's really good as well. Whew. Let me think of another companion that can work well with Fushu as a buffer for her. I mean, I guess Margie could be okay. Margie can give us attack. That's okay. She's not the worst. Daphne, it's alright. I really think it's gonna be Fina and Tebeth as the main. And Truffle, if you did not brick her, because the way to brick Truffle is to get this. The moment you get this, you brick her. If you don't have this, she'll be fine. But Truffle would have been amazing as a buffer, but she's too inconsistent. So Tebeth is a lot more consistent. That's her companions for the skill caster. Now for the Weapon Master DPS build, you're gonna want to go with Fina. Again, Fina is just really good for weapons. You're gonna gain so much more damage, a lot more additional damage for each or 4 elements, plus the penetration. Amazing character for weapon damage, buffing. Of course, her weapon also buffs us. And then we could run Truffle for an amazing buff, but again, it's like a very short bursty buff. If you want something a little bit more consistent, you run the MC. MC is going to give you weapon damage buff, which is a little bit more consistent. This one gives you a 43% damage weapon boost, and then the passive is another 8%. Also gives you an additional trigger probability for your weapon, for special effects, etc., etc. It's a good character for weapon damage buffing. So those are your companions. Your Geniemons, of course, it's gonna be boxy for farming. And the elf pet for the battle pass pet for dealing with bosses. But if you don't have the battle pass pet, I guess you could go with this one. This one's decent for the Phoenix, although you're not running any Phoenixes for this character. You can maybe go with Goodnight for even more healing. But honestly, there's a lot of things you could try. Another really good one. Maybe you can use. Look, I have so much shiny. Is the Hydro Pet, is the Drippy good? Let's take a look at Drippy. Where the hell is Drippy? Look at all the Zipyras. There we go. Driplet. I mean, it's okay. It increases attack for self and allies by 7.5%. It's an attack buff. Decent. Not bad. You can go with this if you don't have the Battle Pass pet. But the Battle Pass pet is just amazing for Hydro. So, those are the changes that I'm suggesting, or those are the Geniemons I'm suggesting, and those are the builds that I'm suggesting for Fushu. This is one massive long video. I hope it was very helpful for you guys. I put in a lot of effort into this one, so do hit that like and sub. As always, I will see you all on the next video. Peace!